Srila Rupa Goswami has given directions in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu on how to accept a bona fide spiritual master and how to deal with him. First, the desiring candidate must find a bona fide spiritual master, and then he must very clearly receive instruction from him and execute them. This is reciprocal service. A bona fide spiritual master or saintly person always desires to elevate a common man who comes to him. Because everyone is under the delusion of Maya and is forgetful of his prime duty, Krishna consciousness, a saintly person always desires that everyone becomes a saintly person. It is a function of a saintly person to invoke Krishna consciousness in every forgetful common man. Manu said that since he was advised and instructed by Kardama Muni, he was very much favored. He considered himself lucky to receive the message by oral reception. It is especially mentioned here that one should be very inquisitive to hear with open ears from the authorized source of bona fide spiritual master. How is one to receive? One should receive the transcendental message by oral reception. The word karna randrehe means through the holes of the ears. The favor of the spiritual master is not received through any other part of the body but the ears. This does not mean, however, that the spiritual master gives a particular type of mantra through the ears in exchange for some dollars, and if the man meditates on that, he achieves perfection and becomes God within 6 months. Such reception through ears is bogus. The real fact is that a bona fide spiritual master knows the nature of a particular man and what sort of duties he can perform in Krishna consciousness, and he instructs him in that way. He instructs him through the ear, not privately but publicly. You are fit for such and such a work in Krishna consciousness, you can act in this way. One person is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by working in the deity's room, another is advised to act in Krishna consciousness by performing editorial work, another is advised to do preaching work, another is advised to carry out Krishna consciousness in the cooking department. These are different departments of activity in Krishna consciousness, and the spiritual master, knowing the particular ability of a particular man, trains him in such a way that by his tendency to act he becomes perfect. Bhagavad Gita makes it clear that one can attain the highest perfection of spiritual life simply by offering service according to his ability, just as Arjuna served Krishna by his ability in the military art. Arjuna offered his service fully as a military man and he became perfect. Similarly, an artist can attain perfection simply by performing artistic work under the direction of spiritual master. If one is a literary man, he can write articles and poetry for the service of the Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. One has to receive the message of the spiritual master regarding how to act in one's capacity, for the spiritual master is expert in giving such instructions. This combination, the instruction of the spiritual master and the faithful execution of the instruction by the disciple, makes the entire process perfect. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur describes in his explanation of the verse in Bhagavad Gita, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi, that one who wants to be certain to achieve spiritual success must take instruction from the spiritual master as to what his particular function is. He should faithfully try to execute that particular instruction and should consider that his life and soul. The faithful execution of the instruction which he receives from the spiritual master is the only duty of a disciple, and that will bring him perfection. One should be very careful to receive the message from the spiritual master through the ears and execute it faithfully. That will make one's life successful. So the Manu is expressing his gratitude. I thank God that I have listened with open ears to your pure words. And he rejoicing in his good fortune, the favor he received by listening to instructions from Kardama Muni. So this is a process of spiritual elevation, this is a process of spiritual growth, this is a process of liberation from material energy. What is the process? The process is oral reception. You have to hear from an authorized source. When you hear from the authorized source, submissive oral reception, that will cleanse our heart of all the lower gunas, tamoguna, rajoguna, and eventually even sattva-guna, and put us in pure Vishuddha Sattva, transcendental consciousness, just by hearing. It is not the path of Krishna consciousness. Ultimately, is a path of direct reception of the words that emanate from the transcendental platform. Direct reception, without the interference by our material intellect. The material intellect is like a shutter. You should open that shutter. This material intellect, a shutter always stops light, isn't it? In a camera, a shutter stops light. As far as spiritual bhakti is concerned, when you compare it with the process of receiving transcendental words from the spiritual master, receiving transcendental sound, the material speculative intelligence is like a shutter. It has to be opened up. What does that mean? First, one should have faith that the shabda, that the words that emanate from a pure devotee has got, the knowledge is contained within that. The intelligence to understand those words are also contained within that. You only have to receive transcendental intelligence. Your material intelligence gets purified by transcendental intelligence. Material intelligence cannot lead us to transcendental intelligence. Only oral reception can lead us to transcendental intelligence. By receiving oral reception of transcendental facts and transcendental intelligence, which is contained in those words, the Shakti is there in those, the transcendental knowledge Shakti or Vidya Shakti is there in that transcendental words. This is a very mystical process. We don't try to understand Bhaktivedanta purport like a college professor tries to understand, like a philosophy professor tries to understand Prabhupada's books. This is not the way we understand, we read. It simply purifies one. By hearing, it simply purifies one. The moment the intellectual shutter comes, then everything becomes stale. Moment intellectual shutter, you take Bhagavad Gita as it is, go on reading, purport to purport, and go on reading. I used to do this. First when I got Bhagavad Gita, it was so nice. Intellect stopped working. Page after page what was going on, went on reading. Wanted to read the purports and not trying to memorize, not trying to assimilate, nothing. Going on, hearing, surrender to Krishna, you are servant of Krishna, surrender to Krishna, you are servant of Krishna. Suppose the intellect had come in between. This I already know, he already told once. I am servant of Krishna, he has told once, I already know. Again he is saying, I am servant of Krishna, I already know. See, intellect means it ends there. Moment you know, it ends there. But moment you have submissive hearing, 1,000 times you hear Prabhupada saying you are servant of Krishna, each time is bliss. Each time it gives energy. 1,000 times you hear Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, each time it gives you energy. But as far as fact is concerned, is only one bit of fact. What is that? Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. But each time you read, every time you hear, you get transcendental. This is a very big secret for spiritual advancement. You have to understand that it is not, your real advancement doesn't come from your material buddhi. Sometimes we are all very overconfident about our material intelligence, our rational intelligence. It is very limited. It is a way of growth. It's a starting way of growth of spiritual life. Because we are stuck in our intelligence, we have to purify our intelligence, we have to try to understand with our material logic, material intelligence, we have to try to understand. But you should understand further stages. You should understand that there is another way of simple repeated oral reception. This Shabda has got, this Shabda does not only have intellectual energy there. The transcendental sound has all the energies that is required to drive away all the lower gunas. So that is a secret. By simply repeatedly hearing, that is why we say you should read Prabhupada's book, read Prabhupada's book. Something you don't intellectually understand, leave it aside. Go on reading. Leave it for now. One day it will become apparent, it will become clear. Try a little to understand. Beyond that you don't try. Then it becomes speculation. Smoothly it should come. Understanding should come smoothly. No spiritual knowledge can be actually captured. No spiritual knowledge can actually be controlled. No spiritual knowledge will stay with you if you have a sense of ownership. Vidya will run away if you have a sense of ownership. You should have a sense of serving that knowledge by giving out that knowledge, hearing repeatedly that knowledge. What is the meaning of sense of ownership of knowledge? Moment in the idea comes, okay, now I know this, it's mine. I am a knowledgeable person. I have it. But in 1 second your knowledge can go. You can go into forgetfulness. It is just like karmis think, I am rich, I got a lot of money. In 1 moment money can go anytime. He can become a pauper. In the same way, transcendental knowledge also, you cannot have a sense of possession towards transcendental knowledge. There should be a sense of reception, oral reception, welcoming and hearing the sound that comes from a transcendental source. And that sound will expand transcendental knowledge into our heart, realization into our heart, transcendental feelings into our heart. And unless transcendental feelings come into our heart, nothing will get purified. Because all our impurities are in the form of feelings, wrong feelings. And where are these wrong feelings? These wrong feelings are all stored in our subconscious mind. That is why habits and all don't change. Intellectually you are convinced, but your habits don't change. Why? Because they are all stored and packed and tied together with certain feelings in your subconscious. So unless the subconscious gets purified, subconscious means you are not conscious. It has to get purified. Means the right feelings have to go inside, as we discussed yesterday. Submissive hearing. Submissive hearing means even the feeling of the speaker will go inside. The feeling has to go inside because the contamination is inside, deep inside. Unless it enters, it remains at an intellectual conviction at your conscious level. That is not enough. You will get temporary benefit. 2-3 days you will be fired up after hearing something. You hear a japa seminar, 2-3 days your chanting will be very nice. Afterwards it is gone. Why? 2-3 days it's in your short-term memory, it is there. Scientists have found out that short-term memory means it is only a chemical state. Today you hear something, in your neurons, the chemical adjustment. Long-term memory means that chemical adjustment goes and changes your neurons structure. There's a structural change in your brain. Just other day I was reading this article about neuroplasticity of brain. Brain is such a wonderful thing, neuroplasticity. Your change can happen by difference in chemical concentrations in the mind, in the brain. Let's say now you learn one shloka. In your short-term memory it remains. Immediately in the brain there are certain chemical levels which is corresponding to this learning shloka and it remains there. But in 2-3 days that chemical go to normal. You have forgotten the shloka. You cannot repeat that shloka. But if it goes into long-term memory, that goes into a structure. Just like we go on saying, say every day we start with Bhagavatam by chanting, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Where is this? You are not consciously saying. It has become a structural change in your mind. Let's say first time when you learn that shloka, first 2-3 days, it has not yet become, you will forget it. Now you will not forget it. Because it will just come. Because it's become a structural change in your mind. So anyway, so that is about simple memory thing. So these things have to go deep inside through feelings. Then there has to be a submissive oral reception. That oral reception is so important that it is such a big factor. The word used is karna randrehe, means through the holes of the ears. The favor of the spiritual master is not received through any part of the body but the ears. Now next Prabhupada is touching upon another very, 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 very important point. One is about, hearing the transcendental knowledge. The rest of the purport Prabhupada is talking about hearing instructions for your service. Whole purport is about, rest of the purport is about it. In earlier days, the Guru used to take only few disciples. Earlier days means just even before the movement, before Bhaktivedanta Thakur, even during Bhaktivedanta Thakur also, how many disciples he had? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, how many disciples? Maybe Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati expanded into more disciples in Gaudiya Math. First time Bhaktisiddhanta. Otherwise, as per this tradition, spiritual master has accepted some disciples. See, so many things Prabhupada is saying here. The real fact is that spiritual master knows the nature of a particular man and what sort of duties he can perform in Krishna consciousness, and he instructs him in that way. Now the big question comes. When Prabhupada started this Krishna consciousness movement, he built an institution, temple presidents, GBC, temple presidents, and all these things he set it up. Out of thousands and thousands of disciples, Srila Prabhupada would have directly instructed what sort of duty, probably a dozen or 20 or 30 or 50 disciples, or even 100 disciples, he would have instructed. Therefore, we have to understand that Srila Prabhupada, instruction is non-different from Prabhupada giving direct instruction is non-different from the institutional system he set up for receiving instruction. How can it be same? Mysticism, mystical. One should understand that Prabhupada is in our midst. Prabhupada was in the midst of all the devotees during his presence. Even though they were receiving instructions from the temple presidents and temple commanders and all, Prabhupada is to operate through them if you have the faith, and therefore devotees made advancement. Because everybody is a servant of Srila Prabhupada. Temple president is a servant of Prabhupada, everybody is a servant of Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada acts through one servant to another servant. Is there a difficulty in that? It goes in line with every principle of Vaishnavism. It goes through that process. So if one has faith, yes, it will work. And we also need to, simultaneously understand that that is little different from directly Prabhupada saying. It is one and different. But the different aspect you have to be very careful. Because if the temple president says something, go and do the sinful activity. Oh, very obvious, no? So principle is not operating there. He is not operating there. Now why don't you drink tea, coffee also? No problem. He will not operate there. But if in sincerity somebody is executing his duty, not only it depends upon the person who is giving instruction. Now we are discussing the problem from the side of the person who is receiving instruction. How will I get similar instruction of what according to my ability, what I should do, all these things, what is it that I should receive from Srila Prabhupada? That is the problem of the receiver. The problem of the receiver is to find, how to get convinced that, my Guru, Srila Prabhupada, is working through this mechanism. He has that faith. He has to have that faith also. If he does not have faith, he will not get the right instruction from the authority. It's a two-way thing. The giver of instruction should represent himself as Srila Prabhupada's servant. The receiver of instruction should have faith. In fact, this is more important. The faith of the person that, I pray to Srila Prabhupada that I get the right kind of instruction from the system here. Mystically he operates. And once he gets the instruction, then he understands that this is Prabhupada's instruction to me. This is a duty assigned to me. I should execute it meticulously, seriously. As a servant of the servant of the servant, I should execute it. So unless one understands this mystical process in which this works, if one simply thinks, one does not consider that Prabhupada is operating through the devotees who are chanting their 16 rounds, who are following the instruction that given by Srila Prabhupada, who are executing their duties. There are some duty. It is a duty of certain people to give instruction to people who are below. It is a duty. So while doing that duty, that will be when he is chanting 16 rounds, when he is doing whatever Prabhupada has told, that duty will pass down, that right instructions will come. Now this is something sometimes very bewildering to the mind. How can it be exactly, he asked me to do now cooking today. How do I know that, just like Prabhupada says, here he says, the spiritual master knows your particular nature and what sort of duties he has to perform, and he instructs in that way. No doubt, we are Prabhupada disciples, so everything is fact. It is acting on us. We are enjoying, or we are part of this process. We are part of this process. Each one of us are part of this process. If you have got a service in the deity room, if you have got a service in the kitchen, it is all Prabhupada is through Prabhupada only it is coming. Otherwise you will feel that, oh yeah, somebody told me, okay, I'll wait one day when Prabhupada will tell me. That day will never come. That day will never come. Why not take that your whatever duty you get as highly sacred and execute it? It is sacred. Temple president is an instrument, temple commander is an instrument, assistant commander is an instrument, department head is an instrument. There is a mystical process happening here. Mystically these things are happening. One has to accept that the service that he is doing is sacred. It is coming from my spiritual master. And then sometimes one may think, oh, okay, then they gave me this service, then they thought that is wrong. Maybe you are not good at it. Now we realize you are not good at it. The authority will say, now we realize you are not good at it. Now we'll give you another service. Then your mind will think, they should have thought of it earlier, no? I'm not good at it. How do you explain that? This is another very important point devotee should understand. In the beginning, when we say according to one's capacity, all those things, the first thing that devotee should learn for several years in his life is not about particular service, it is about servitude. Developing the attitude of servitude. One should not get into this analysis paralysis that, oh, okay, so today I have been sent to Assistant Pujari for doing this. Okay, I do not know really why Prabhupada, Prabhupada brought me into, maybe Prabhupada doesn't want me to Assistant Pujari, maybe Prabhupada wants me to cut sabji. This is analysis paralysis. You paralyze your life by analyzing too much. So if you assume that Prabhupada wants every time what exactly you should be doing, that is an illusion. In Prabhupada's mind, that is not there. Prabhupada's mind, sometimes he may have, but every point, every hand you move, every thing you move, Prabhupada wants, and that is what you are doing. Prabhupada is saying, Prabhupada is teaching us Krishna consciousness to serve the Supreme Lord. Right? So Prabhupada will say, look, you are a neophyte now. This will be in Prabhupada's mind. You are a neophyte. I am not very particular about whether you cut sabji or do Assistant Pujari work. Possible, no? So why we should assume that any service. Now I want you to follow this system and learn how to be a servant. This is a stage for you to learn how to become follow instructions. You as my disciple, I am focusing on developing your servitude. Whether you cut sabji, somebody else gives assistant pujari, cleaning the pots, does not matter. Somebody will do it and service will go on. If you don't cut sabji, somebody will cut sabji. Then nothing particularly I am going to, some spiritual lesson coming from cutting sabji which cannot be got from washing the pots. So don't get into this analysis paralysis. When a particular, suppose some particular service, these are all very, very high things. Like Lord Krishna wanted Prabhupada to, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur wanted as a very specific instruction to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, go to America and preach. We should not imitate that. Neither Krishna nor Prabhupada wants any of those particular things now. When we clean ourselves, then one day it will manifest. When we learn how to be humble, when we learn how to be servant, at the right stage, that kind of instruction, Divya Jnana Hridaya Prakasha, within the heart of the disciple, the spiritual master will guide him. And he will be convinced that I have to do this. He will be convinced I have to do it. Now is a purification stage. We have to purify ourselves. No, I got a dream that I should build a temple in the middle of the Indian Ocean. Nobody can stop me now. You will go and drown in the Indian Ocean. There is a process of purification. There is a process that the Guru is expecting out of you. All upstart thinking you should not get into. Then you will mess up your life. Be patient, be shanti. That is one thing. Another problem is here. From this, another very important thing is, Prabhupada is saying, another may be advised to carry out cooking department, preaching work. And another biggest problem with devotees face, neophyte devotees face is, they think that, my service, one set of people think my service is very big service. Another set of devotees think my service is very small service. Small, big, all they are talking in terms of socially big. Oh, leader service is big service. I am just cooking. My service is, socially, it may be that. It's all right. Now that devotee is thinking, he is so good in cooking, but in his mind he is thinking, when I will become a management leader? That is perfection of life. And then, because he does not have the guna karma, he will constantly be frustrated. Constantly be frustrated. Because he is always comparing. So therefore, from this you should understand, the formula for unhappiness in spiritual life is when you compare yourself with others. You are what you are. Tomorrow you will be what you are meant to be from where you are. With the mercy of Prabhupada, you will be somewhere else. That is, each devotee's journey is different. Don't compare. You don't compare services, don't compare. You compare if you want, okay, here is a person who has got knowledge. When will I get that knowledge? Here is a person who is so detached. When will I get that kind of detached? Here is a devotee who is always working hard. Compare. I am not working hard like this. I want to work hard. Here is a devotee who typed so fast, 70 words per minute. What is the use of getting fascinated with it? One day I also want to type at 70. It's nothing to do with your service. I want to do. Oh, here is a devotee, so beautiful painting you made about Krishna, my God. It's amazing. So wonderful. Okay, you appreciate, enjoy the picture. That is your right. Now you are thinking, you can't draw one sketch. When I can make that painting? When I can do like that? What is the use of all that? Rather the devotee should think, when I can be devoted to my work the way the devotee was devoted to that painting. That is the way we should compare, if at all. Because we cannot stop comparing. We are a society, we are a social being, it will always be there. We should compare for getting inspired. We should not compare for getting despaired. I don't know whether there is a word like that in English. As I said, it is a formula for permanent unhappiness. What is that? The habit of comparing. You are bonded. Your happiness is gone into somebody else's hand. Because that desire can never be satisfied, because he is he, you are you. Any two individuals are the same? No. Any two individuals, are their abilities all same? No. They are all different. You should think, I am what I am. I am unique in that sense. There is no another second Madhu Pandit. Correct? Those who are very depressed, they compare, and they become what? So depressed. I am nothing, they think. One devotee came to me like that, full of comparison. I am nothing. Because he's always comparing, then he's nothing. Then I told that devotee, is there another human being just like you in this universe? You find out. He said, no. So you are something. You are something unique. You cannot find another person like you in the entire universe. Some value is there now for me. I thought I had no value at all. It is a fact. It is a fact. Please be what you are in your service. Aspire for devotional qualities. Don't aspire for social rise here, that, this thing, that thing, when I will be temple commander, when I will be this, when I will this. Because you see what happens, this is a material world, is a lauding world. So lauding has got good value in this material world, conditionally. Somebody who has got control over money, control over position, all these things, it gives value. So we don't get bewildered by all these things because we are left and come. A devotee who thinks he is a temple president is not a temple president. A devotee who thinks I am a temple commander is not a temple commander. A devotee who thinks that I am a servant, temple president, he is in the right platform. I am a servant temple commander, I am a servant assistant temple commander. If you enjoy giving instructions, which are very difficult for somebody to follow, if you enjoy giving instruction, if you enjoy criticizing, those who work under you, sometimes you have to criticize. But you enjoy, there is one formula, whether you should tell yourself, now I see that I have to correct this devotee. Okay, that is one fact. Outside there is a problem with devotee, I have to correct him. It's in my duty to correct him. Look into yourself. Do you enjoy correcting him, or with great difficulty you are correcting him? Great hesitation. You are going to criticize him now. This is wrong, that is wrong. It is painful for you to criticize. If it is painful for you, do it. If you are enjoying, don't do it. You cannot enjoy criticizing any Vaishnava. But at the same time, you have to, sometimes your duty is to criticize and correct. The spirit has to be, the right spirit of service has to be there when you criticize, when you correct. That is the right attitude of a leader. Any questions? Here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu said, like, in a system, like whatever Prabhu, there was one statement, you read in the Purport King. Prabhupada engages us, he knows our nature and he engages us what we are good at. So now physically Prabhupada is not there. So when we are under the system, so whatever our authority says, through the system we get Prabhupada's instructions. But there are many followers of Prabhupada who are not in the system, who are outside the institution. How do they get guidance of Prabhupada in that?
They are outside the system also, they have to be. That is why, you see, the temple president is the one who recommends somebody for initiation. And the temple president is a spiritual authority for them also. They just go flying around after initiation, they won't advance. They have to associate with the temple. They have to take guidance from the temple. That is very important. Sadhu Sangha factor is not exempted for them. So sadhu sangha is happening in ashram, in this thing, we are happening continuously in a Vaishnava community. It is happening. Just because I am a congregation, I don't have to listen to temple president. Finish. You are going to Maya. Finish. The advancement is gone. I don't have to listen to temple authority. Is gone. Ahankara comes. False ego comes. One thinks is a big achiever. I achieved this. I achieved this. It will not last for long. When you distribute books, when you do anything, what does Prabhupada wants? You should not first think that, okay, Prabhupada wants two things, you should always remember. One is my attitude, another is he wants result. He is happy. It's recorded. You distribute more books, Prabhupada is happy. But if your attitude, you are getting more and more puffed up, more and more ahankara, more and more confident. I am doer. And then you are distributing books. Slowly you lose your power. Spiritual power you will lose. You will fall down. Spiritually you will fall down. Your material ability you may be pursuing, but spiritually you will fall down. You will not be able to follow regulatory principles. You will become, you're choked. It's just like a weed. A weed is growing. Success is feeding your false ego. Success is not feeding your soul. Simply lip service you do. Prabhupada's mercy, I distributed so many books. Prabhupada's mercy, I distributed. You don't mean what you mean. It's just words you say. But inside you are feeding socially you are feeding your ahankara. So those who are not within the temple atmosphere, those who get initiated, they should be connected to the temple. They should understand that, they should follow the instructions of the authority. Then they are safe. Otherwise, simply going on, it goes on. They won't find happiness. They won't find that spiritual progress. They cannot feel that. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, you told that if you are enjoying criticism of a Vaishnava, if you are authority of him, if you are enjoying, then don't do it. And if you are, the moment you feel pain in criticizing, then you do it. So, suppose if I am authority and if I have to criticize somebody has done mistake, and I know that I will enjoy that criticism. So, should I wait for the day to come?
Not wait for the day. You should because you are obligated to do your duty.
Yeah.
You have this knowledge that without enjoying, try to criticize. If you cannot, please take it to your higher authority, who may be capable of, without enjoying, criticize. You cannot live. Duty cannot be neglected. The person has to be corrected means he has to be corrected. Somebody has to do the job. So then you should think this is Prabhupada's test. This is an insight test. It's a test that Prabhupada has given me. I should build up my internal thing that I am, while doing this service of telling another jiva something, criticizing, I cannot be enjoying that. It is a service to that devotee. So I have to build up that service mood. I cannot be impulsive. So duty also has to be done. You need not wait for it. Escalation is there. Go to the next level, next level, next level. That way it is safe. Anybody who is an authority, when they criticize, when there are difficult situations, sometimes the devotee very rebellious he becomes. Then you need to give a lauding back. Every time in management, soft thing doesn't work. Right? The person will be completely in Maya. What is the use of showing spiritual humility before him? He'll go more into Maya. So you have to go according to that devotee's consciousness. You have to become very heavy also. So with great difficulty you should become heavy, not enjoy becoming heavy. I don't know that. This is a very, very, for a Vaishnava, this is a very unpalatable job. To criticize a devotee, to get heavy on a devotee, it's not an enjoyable thing. But it has to be done. And when you do it with that difficulty, with that restriction, with that hesitation, you will see it will have the spiritual power to change the devotee. जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.